Perfect. All right. Person, I know you were here before. Latoya, how you doing? Thanks for hopping on. I know you weren't here last week. Jonathan, you were. Latoya, I don't know if you were here last week. I can't remember. But we've been moving along the line as far as wholesaling goes. I really kind of wish we had more time, like to do it more succinctly, more consecutively, so that's not so so far apart because it draws it out. But I want to kind of give you guys the next evolution. So we understood the first week that I did one. We kind of went over what wholesaling was. We talked about ARV and what that looked like, and is it or not a deal? Trying to figure out those numbers. Now, a big portion of wholesaling is being able to walk into a house and kind of roughly estimate what the repair costs are going to be. So this sometimes is a little difficult for people, especially if you're not, construction savvy or haven't been around that field. It's like a different language for some people. I want to kind of take the pressure off you guys on that. You don't have to have it down to the penny. It doesn't need to be something that's like down to the last, penny. You just need to kind of be in the ballpark. And you'll get into a point, especially in your particular areas, if you're in, Texas or North Carolina. Latoya, I didn't get a chance to talk with you and see where you're out of. But wherever you're at in the country, you'll kind of get a feel for what the construction price goes for in that neighborhood. And then without even walking into the house, if you know the house is a full gut job, you'll be able to say, all right, this is about a 1,300 square foot house. It's going to cost me about $55,000 to do a complete gut job on it. And you won't even need to walk into the house. You'll just already kind of know that. Well, that's like the prices I'm experiencing here in the Atlanta area. So it might be a little bit different in Fayetteville. Might be a little bit different in, I think you said Texas. Once you do this enough, it'll just become so much easier. But like I said, I want to kind of show you a video that I've put together and let that play, and you guys can just watch it and take some notes. Hold on 1 second. I'll share. All right. All right, here we go. Module 4. Man, this is going to be a relatively quick one, but it's an important one. All right. This one takes a little bit of skill, takes a little bit of time to get. It's a little tough because everywhere is a little bit different. But module 4 is how do we calculate repairs? Tommy, how do I calculate the repairs? I step into this house, I look up, there's no roof. How do I know how much that's going to cost me? Okay. So this one, like I said, this is kind of hit or miss, right? Not because of anything else, but simply for the fact that we are here. I'm here in Georgia. The prices here in this market where I'm at in the Atlanta, Cobb County, all the way down into Macon, that area, those prices just in this one state are vastly different from Atlanta prices to Macon prices, okay? So I know for a fact if you're doing this in New Jersey or New York or California, your prices are going to be completely different. So I need you to do a couple of things for me. Number one, it's kind of a fun thing. It's actually going to be part of your homework, but I'm going to talk to you about it right now. Field trip time. We are taking a field trip to Home Depot or Lowe's or one of your other stores that supplies contractors. What I need you to do is grab a notebook. Get a notebook, and you're going to basically go to Home Depot and you're going to write down, go into the bathroom aisle for let's say. At the top, you're going to write bathroom. And you're going to go down the aisle and you're going to see what the low-end toilet is and what the high-end toilet is. And you're going to average that out. See what the low-end sink is and the high-end sink. You're going to do the exact same thing for electrical, or you're going to do the same thing for roofing supplies. I just want you to kind of get an idea of how much these things cost, because a lot of people don't even know the right names of different things. And the only way you get to do that is by researching it, going out there, talking with the people, the staff that works at these particular stores, and asking questions. But you should have a nice sized notebook that is going to have the prices of almost everything that needs to go into a bathroom, everything that needs to go into a kitchen, everything that needs to go down on to flooring. So I would look at how much does a rug cost, which is the cheap side and which the high end. Why is this important? Because you're going to meet all types of investors. Some investors are going to be a little bit on the lower end. They might just be doing rentals that are going to, they know they're going to get tore up and they're going to have to put new carpet every single year. Some of the guys, they're going to be putting in, just, really expensive tiles and mosaic tiles, and they want, travertine and all throughout their house, right? There's going to be different prices. But if you don't know these prices, especially if you're not into construction, right? Especially if you don't know these prices yet, it's going to be kind of difficult for you to walk into a house and say, okay, this is going to cost X amount of dollars. Understand, I do not be down to the penny, okay? I don't need you to know every little cent when you walk into a house. When I walk into a house and I look at a kitchen and I see it's a relatively small kitchen, I say, oh, I could probably get this kitchen done with appliances for about $6,000, $6,500 in my market, right? If it's a bigger kitchen, it might go up to $10,000 or $12,000 with appliances, okay? But it's only because I've spent enough time doing this. We're trying to catch you guys up and skip a couple of steps. So go to Home Depot, go down every single aisle, see what a refrigerator costs, see what a toilet costs and a sink costs, what the flooring costs, all right? Find out what those numbers are. It's going to help you later on when we get to the negotiation side and you're negotiating with your seller, and you're going to tell them, hey, listen, look at Home Depot. I know what they cost. They're going to be able to see and basically you're going to show them why they need to sell you their property at a discounted rate. So that's that one thing. I want you also to go ahead and kind of look at what we have is called the Big Five. The Big Five. So the Big Five are the 5 most expensive things on a home. These things are going to cost you some money, all right? Or if you're not buying it, the end investor some money. Number one is working top down, the roof, all right? The roof is an expensive item. That roof, depending on where you're at, can cost you as little as $3,000. I've had a roof redone for $3,000, and then I've seen roofs that are 50, 60. I have one that in Florida that was $70,000 to do a roof. It was one of the Spanish barrel tile roofs. It was extremely expensive, okay? So you need to know for your area, as you can see, $3,000 to $70,000. You really need to know where you lie at. Now, for most properties that we're doing, especially if you're working in a lower income neighborhood, you're probably going to figure out that really soon that your average roof is going to cost you anywhere between $6,000 to maybe $10,000, okay, for your average size roof. And that depends on what part of the country you're in, okay? Where I'm at, most of the time, the roof is going to cost anywhere between $6,000 to $10,000, just depending how big it is. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But one of the things that we can do with our roof, and we're going to get into a little bit later, is call around and get some prices. We're going to talk about that a little later. Number 2, the second thing, all right? The second thing. Now, I said we're going from top down, but I know this doesn't make really sense in the beginning, but I want you to think about it. The second thing is the foundation. Well, how are we going from top down and we're going down to the basement? A lot of times you're going to see that your foundation has issues because as you work your way down inside of the house, you're going to see cracks in the walls. You're going to start to see, especially if it's a brick facade, you're going to start to see that mortar starts to separate. Why? Because the ground below it is dropping down. You're actually losing some depth there. It's going down into the ground. It's sinking or sliding. I bought a house that was on the bottom side of a hill. Don't do that. But I bought a house. It was a house that I was buying to flip, and the water was running off, and the runoff was just eroding the soil, and therefore the back of the house was just sliding down, okay? What I started to see was, number one, the floor was a little tilted, but also when I looked down from the roof down outside, I could see cracks. So if you see that, foundation issues, that should scream to you foundation issues, okay? That's the second biggest. Number 3, we have HVAC. Okay, so our HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, okay? So HVAC is important, especially if you live in the South. And now a lot of places are all electric where you can get your heating included with that. So even in the North, if you have electric heat, you still need to be able to make sure that you are taking a look at that and making sure that if that property does have it, well, that's a plus. Make sure that it's working. If it doesn't, it's going to cost you a little bit of money, okay? In my particular area, Your average house is going to need about a 1.5 ton, maybe 2 ton HVAC system to cool a property that's somewhere between 1,200 to 1,500 square feet. Okay, that's pretty much where we're at. I know what I'm going to pay for that. I'm going to show you where to go to take a look for that. Okay, in your particular area. All right, so we got roof, we got foundation, we got HVAC. Next thing, electrical. Electrical is expensive. Okay, there's a lot of work to run those wires through your walls and make it look nice. In my particular area, to rewire a house that's around 1,200 square feet, I'm going to spend somewhere, depending on who I hire, somewhere between $600 to about $700, maybe $7,500 to do a complete rewire. Right? A lot of times these houses, especially in troubled areas where they're going to have some issues, what they do is they kind of go in there and if the power's off, they rip all the wires out. Why? Because those wires have copper in them, and copper is more expensive, so they go and take it to junk it, they can get a little bit more money. So all the wires, you'll see that every outlet, there'll be a hole in it, and what they do is they go in there and they just yank all the wires out. So it just pulls it from wherever it is in the house and pulls it all out. You have to get an electrician to repair that. Mind you, these are prices that I want you to get that are from licensed people. We're not talking about just, your cousin on your mother's side that you met 3 times and you heard that he does some electrical work. We're not doing those prices, okay? We're talking about licensed electricians that are going to pull permits, because that's what we're going to present to our seller and our buyer. That, listen, I've taken this into consideration. The last thing is plumbing. Plumbing, again, for about that same size house, 1,200 square feet, I know it's going to run me about $5,000 to $6,000. All right, once again, copper pipes. If you have copper pipes, the same thing. A lot of times they'll go in there and they'll pull all the copper pipes out. You need to replace those pipes, all right, and it's going to cost you a little bit of money. All right, so those 5 things are going to be some of the biggest costs. All right, there's some other costs associated, but those 5 things right there, if you have all 5 of those, you have a pretty major renovation. Okay, what we're going to do, though, real quick, I want you to do a couple things. Number one, to kind of figure this thing out, I want you to call around to some of these companies. Each one of those, the only one that's kind of tough is really the foundation work, because that really is case by case. I mean, it could vary from as little as $500 to tens of thousands of dollars on foundation jobs, depending on how bad it is. But one company that I want to kind of point you to is acdirect.com. So why I like that company? Because you can go into their website and then you can actually look and point out what region you're in. All right, they'll have a chart there. It's a color-coded chart. But point out what region you're in, and you can click what region it is. So if you're in Colorado, your air conditioning bill is probably going to be a little bit less than it is in Florida, right? Just makes sense. So go in there and you can find out exactly how much it's going to cost. Mind you, these are prices just for the unit, not including labor, and it's not including the ducting that goes in and brings the hot air or the cool air to you. So you got to factor those things in, all right? But the good thing is that you can use that as a resource, as a tool. So now you have a guideline of how much the actual equipment is going to cost. Now you just got to figure out how much the actual labor is going to cost, and you can do that by calling them. So I want you to call an AC company. Next thing, obviously, roofing company, same thing. Roofing goes by squares. So squares, 1 square is 100 square feet. So on a roof, it's measured just like on a floor, on a flat ground, but most roofs are pitched, okay? So we want to know how much it costs per square. That's the terminology that we use in roofing. So if you go in there and say, hey, how much per square foot? They're going to be like, what are you talking? Well, they're never going to know what you're talking about, but they're going to know that you're a rookie. You say, how much per square on a 212 pitch, or a 312, or an 812? The greater that first number, the steeper the pitch. Why is that important? Because if we have a house right here, right, and let's say this floor space, if we were to measure this out, would be 1,000 square feet. All right, I know it's a little bit small, but imagine this house. So from here to here on a straight line is 1,000 square feet. Now, if this roof was flat, then that means the roof would be 1,000 square feet. But most of the time, especially on single family homes, there's going to be some type of pitch on the roof. So our roof is going to look like this. So that means that area actually obviously has a length and a width, and so does this area have a length and a width. If you were to smash this out and put it flat and go from here to here, you could see that this would be a greater space than 1,000 square feet. Follow me? So this roof, depending on the pitch, the steeper the pitch, the more square foot is going to be, more square footage is going to be to cover this roof. So same size house here, but it's a very, very flat pitch. It's going to be a smaller roof. Same house over here, 1,000 square feet, but it goes way up here and way down here. You can see that's going to be a lot more surface area to cover. What you want to do is basically just get a general idea. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be spot on. What I just need you to do is get a general idea. Call in your roofing company and ask them, listen, what's the average house that you do? And they'll say, oh, average house that we do is 20 squares. All right, well, what do you charge per square? We charge, $239, $189. I've seen prices from different parts of the country. Some houses, some places, really expensive places, they're charging for certain products $800, $900, $1,000 per square, right? Know what type of product that goes into the neighborhood that you're using. Normally, 3-tab shingles or architectural shingles is the norm. 3-tab would be the lower end. Architectural would be just above that. All right. Ask them, hey, how much do you charge for a 3-tab shingle per square? Then you can kind of get an idea what that's going to cost you. Okay. So same thing I want you guys to do with the electricians. Electricians, ask them, listen, how much do you charge to completely rewire your average house for this area, your average 1,200 square foot home? They'll ask you a couple of questions, and then you'll be able to get an average answer. We just need to be in the ballpark. Same exact thing with plumbing. Do the exact same thing, okay? This is how you're going to start to become a pro. This is how you're going to be able to kind of get into a house, look around you, and then figure out, okay, that's going to cost me this, that's going to cost me that. Coupled with the information that you just got from Home Depot, or that you're going to get from Home Depot when you do your homework, you'll be able to be in the ballpark for how much it's going to cost to do the kitchen, how much it's going to cost for my flooring, how much does a 5-gallon bucket of paint cost. You're going to know these numbers, and once you do it enough, you'll be able to figure it out and pick up on it like it's nothing. So what I got you guys doing is following these steps, knowing what the big 5 are. Those are the most important ones. Those are things that are going to stand you out, and they're probably going to be the reason why your sellers are calling you, because they have a hole in the roof, or because they have water in their basement or something like that, and they have a problem with their foundation. So we're going to go ahead and right into this, and I want you guys to follow those steps and do it right now. All right, see you guys in the next one.
All right. I'll stop this share right here. Cool. All right. So we got, okay, let's tell you Augusta. Okay, cool. Victoria, I need to get with you. I got a buyer out in Augusta that, yeah, we got to talk. So first of all, that was a lot of information. Anybody got any questions on that particular, on looking for, trying to figure out repair costs? No questions? All right. So the reason why figuring out your repair cost is so key. Obviously you need to know, Nick, are you saying something, or are you on the phone? All right. Obviously, you need to know what it's going to take to get it back into HGTV 2019 status, right? That's super, super important. But what also is important is that you also can use this for negotiation purposes. So if someone is kind of teeter-tottering on a price that would not really work for a wholesale deal, where you can add some value in for your end buyer, the person who's going to fix and flip, is understanding the numbers of the repair cost. So let me see if we can do this here on the whiteboard. All right. So some person that goes into a house, and let's say we need them to be at we need them to sell the house at $50,000, right? We need them to sell the house at $50,000 so we can, put our fee into it. Let's say we put a fee of $10,000 on top. But right now they're at $65,000, and we need to get them down to like 50 in order so we can make the deal work. So without having some skill, they're stuck at 65K. They're stuck at 65K, and we need to get them down. We need to get them down to 50K. All right. So how do we do this? So by knowing the cost of repairs, we can explain to our seller. This is our seller up here. We can explain to our seller on why. I've done this so many times, on why we cannot afford to pay them their 65K. Now, if you just go to someone, if you put yourself in the seller's shoes, if you're the seller and I come to you and just say, you're saying you want 65, and I'm like, well, the best I can do is 50. And you're like, well, I want 65. I'm like, well, I mean, I know what you want, but all I can do is 50. Without any rhyme or reason, just because I want 50, right? You're less inclined to say yes to that than if I approach you like this. We walk around, we build rapport with each other throughout the beginning of the negotiation. And I walk around the house with my cell phone out or a calculator out, and I actually am adding up numbers. And this is exactly what I do. I don't know where my cell phone's at now, but I literally hold my cell phone and I go, all right, roof, okay, 8,500. All right, kitchen, okay, 9,000. And I add them in. And at the end of it, after walking around their house, or most people are going to follow you around or kind of being within the vicinity, I show you, hey, this is what I have totaled up for repairs. As you heard, we're going to be doing a full gut job on this. And really my repairs are going to come out to $57,340. Okay. And I show you that. I say, okay, so when it's time for you to go to negotiations, they want 65. I show them, well, listen, I'd love to be able to pay you 65. I really would. And if we didn't have to do that roof job, the roof job and maybe the, replace the windows, I probably could pay you 65. But because of those issues, there's no way. It's not enough profit margin in there for me in order for me to take on this project. So hear what I'm saying when I'm using my repair costs. All right. I'm using my repair costs to help me in my negotiations. Okay. So the way we use this is artfully, right? It's very tactfully, and it's letting them know that we are in this to make money. We're in this to feed our families. We're in this to pay our bills. Okay. I want to use my repair costs to build in a margin so that because I'm wholesaling this, right? So really my end investor can do those things. But to them, we're one and the same. We're me, the wholesaler, and the end investor, the fix and flipper, we're the same. The fix and flipper is paying me to find these properties. So it's my job to make sure they have enough profit margin in there. So I will use the repair costs to help negotiate it down by letting them know, and just break it into a straight math. Like if I'm going to risk X amount of dollars, I need to have a certain amount of return. If I don't have that return, then I either need to decrease my purchase price or I need to find another property. And you say that very, very tactfully, very nice. You're not mean about it. You just say, listen, Jonathan, man, I would love to buy your house for $65,000, but between the roof and the windows, that's really putting me up above my threshold for repair costs. And so I really need to be at that $50,000 mark. And here's why. I'm going to spend $50,000 with you, putting that in your account. And then the other $57,340 that I have to spend on renovations, it's going to take me up over $100,000. And really, if I'm going to risk $100,000, I really want to make at least 30%. And the reason why I want to make 30% is because after I sell it, that 30%, 15% of that is going to go to real estate agents, closing costs, cost on money, and and holding costs. So I'm really only going to make about 15% out of that profit margin. So what I did is I used my repairs along with some other knowledge that you guys are going to get here shortly or get here throughout the coming weeks. I used my knowledge of my repairs and the rapport of us walking through the house and totaling these things up all together to build in that profit margin that I need to get him or her down to $50,000. Does that make sense? All right, so let me stop here. Let me pause right here. Does anybody have any questions about that? Nothing at all. All right, let me ask, Harrison, you're in Texas, correct? So what are you looking at? Have you done any repairs or any flips out there where you know pricing out there?
Oh no, I'm just getting started with this, man. I can sit here and tell you I know a lick about it, but that's why I'm here.
Got you. Okay, so what questions would you have as it pertains to repairs?
Like could you repeat the square thing one more time? Like what did you mean by like the one square?
Yeah. So in roofing, so if you're going to put down like flooring, they're going to want to know how many square feet, right?
Yeah.
How many square feet in your house. So in roofing, they go by squares. So it's the same concept, it's just the terminology, right? So 1 square equals 100 square feet. So 10 squares obviously would be 1,000 square feet total. You understand?
Okay, I got you.
So if they say this is a 20 square foot roof, then it's 2,000. The surface of the roof is 2,000 square feet. It might only cover a 1,000 square foot house, but because of the pitch, once you push the pitch out, it's going to cover 2,000 square feet. Make sense?
Okay, I got yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Got it. Cool. All right. So with that, on repairs, when it comes specifically to roofing, you just need to understand what type of roof they're going to put down. And most, like 9 times out of 10, unless you're in certain parts of Texas, like San Antonio, where they have a big Spanish influence on their architecture, and like definitely down like in Miami, where I used to live at, there's a lot of Spanish influence on architecture. They use the barrel tile. Besides that, what are the top? Okay, I got you, Latoya. Besides that, most of the country is going to have regular 3-tab shingles and architectural. So you understand what those look like, everybody? If you do, if you know what they are, you just put yes. You don't, put no in the chat. Architecturals are a little bit more expensive. They last longer. So here's another good point. Regular like 3-tab shingles, they last about 20 to 25 years. So this is important stuff to ask. It sounds like little stupid little things, but this can help you with getting your price point, especially for your repairs, kind of honing them down. Because if you get into a house and you ask the person, when's the last time the roof has been replaced? And they say, oh, it's been about 17, 18 years. Well, you know it's about due. So you pretty much might as well just count that as a repair, okay? Excuse me. The other thing, before I get to Latoya's question, the other thing is that if you, let's say you get to a house and the repairs were, the roof was replaced 14 years ago, okay? So it's not really, doesn't really need a repair. It still has anywhere between 6 to maybe even 8 to 9 years left. But here's the thing. I have new wholesalers that tell me that they say this all the time. They will say, oh, the roof is good. We don't need to replace the roof. And I'll look at the roof. I'm like, yeah, doesn't look like there's anything wrong with it. Inside, we don't see any water stains from the ceiling. It looks good. We don't need to replace the roof. But when we're comparing houses, when we're comparing apples to apples, if I'm looking to get top dollar, so if I'm doing, and if you guys got a chance to see the last week's talk on ARV, when we're doing ARVs, we're comparing them to houses that are newly flipped, like they just got completely renovated. If all of those houses that we're comparing them to have fresh new roofs, then we need to put on a new roof, even though this one does not, or we need to at least account for a new roof being put on in our repair costs, even though this is a perfectly good roof. Because we can't honestly compare them to those other houses and want to get the same price as those other houses if we don't put the same type of effort and care and repairs into that house. Does that make sense? So, excuse me, I ran out of water. I'm going to go ahead and write this down here. Hopefully this will work out here. So let's say I ask for the big five. So, big five. So we got 1, roof, 2, foundation, 3, we got, excuse me, HVAC, 4, plumbing. So roof, foundation, HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, excuse me, electrical, and plumbing. Oh, great, now I got the hiccups. So these are the big 5, all right? These are the things that cost the most money during the course of a renovation. And that's why they're so important, because this is where a lot of the cost is going to come in at. Oh, man, I got the hiccups, man. Are all your Zoom calls saved and put on Wealth Bidders? I'm not sure. I just send them to Ty, and I think they are. Excuse me. All right. So today's lesson, that's really it. So what I want to do is, just like I did in that video, excuse me, I want to send you guys with some homework. So your homework is to do exactly what I talked about in that video. Because if you don't do this, then this just becomes another thing that you watched and you get absolutely nothing from it. Because I can tell you what the prices are in my particular neighborhood, but I can't tell you what the prices are in Augusta. And I don't know what they are in Fayetteville, and I definitely don't know what they are in Texas. So this lesson does you absolutely no good unless you go out and you do these things. Do these things. Wow. So the roof, I need you guys to call a roofer in your neighborhood. Matter of fact, you should probably call 5 to 10 roofers in your neighborhood. Ask them, what do they charge per square for a 3-tab shingle? All right. Same thing with, well, like I said, foundation is a little difficult. Foundation is very difficult because there's just so many different things that can go into a foundation. But HVAC, how many tons is it going to take to cool a 1,200 square foot home in your particular area? And what is that going to cost with duct work? Okay. Electrical, how much would it cost to completely redo the electrical system in a 1,200 to 1,500 square foot home? Same exact question with the plumber. You're gonna need to call a couple of them to get a couple different prices. All right, so that's your homework. And also the Home Depot assignment. Make sure you go to Home Depot and start getting your start to get your knowledge up of what things cost in Home Depot. How much toilets cost, sinks cost, vanities, so the whole 9 yards. All right, perfect. If you guys don't have any other questions, if you don't have any other questions, I'm gonna try to get rid of these hiccups.
I have a question about the AVR. I was,
ARV.
oh yeah, sorry, ARV. I was doing that earlier today, and I was having a really hard time finding any houses that have been sold in the area. Now, Zillow does give you their own estimated cost, but it wasn't very consistent throughout the neighborhoods. It'd be right at it'd say like $30,000, and then it'd be right next to a house that's $90,000. So, is there another way to calculate an ARV without going through a realtor, or any other tricks you can provide?
Have you only used Zillow?
Yes.
So what I typically do if I don't find it on Zillow, well, I can't. What I used to do is if I couldn't find it on Zillow, I would go to Realtor.com or Redfin, and sometimes they'll have different data. Now, what you can do, all right, so this is a little bit, I don't want to say higher level, but you have to think about it a little bit differently, right? So for the ARV, what we're trying to find out is what the house will or should appraise for after we make it 2019 HGTV ready, right? So another trick that you can kind of do is not look at it from that angle, but you can look at it from the angle of what other investors are buying houses for in that particular neighborhood. Because hopefully investors are buying smart and they're making money, and you'll see a pattern. They'll see like, man, this is like a $30,000 neighborhood. So what you can do at that point, instead of looking at it from the end perspective, look at it from the beginning perspective. So if Caleb, Harrison, Jonathan, and LaToya are all buying houses in, Southwest Georgia, Southwest Atlanta, and I go down there and I'm trying to find ARV and I really can't find them because there's not a lot of houses that are being flipped and sold. Then I was like, okay, well, let me look at it a little differently. Let me look at what Caleb, Harrison, Jonathan, LaToya are buying these houses at. Okay. They're all buying them somewhere between $20,000 to $35,000. Okay. So now let me look at my house, the subject house that I want to wholesale. Let's see if any of those houses that are in that neighbor are comparable to my subject house. Does that make sense? And so if my subject house is a 3-1 and it's like 1,200 square feet, and I saw that LaToya, she recently bought a home, a 3-1, that was roughly around the same square footage, then I could probably use that as a benchmark, as a point to start my negotiations. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. All right, anything else before we wrap this one up? Cool, all right, well, this lesson we're talking about, thank you, appreciate it, Harrison. This lesson we're talking about repairs and how to find those repairs and why they're so important that we do a good job with doing those. We also understand that you don't have to beat yourself up down to the last penny. You just need to get into a general ballpark of what it's going to cost. And then, and also we talked about briefly how we can use repairs to help in our negotiations. We're going to have a whole dedicated training just on setting the appointment, which we're getting close to this point. So I hope you guys are doing the homework. We're going to have a thing on setting the appointment and also a whole course on just negotiations, because that is really where the art comes in at. And it's something that you have to practice over and over again. But that part of knowing repairs is going to definitely help you out and be a stronger negotiator if you can understand, really understand and put some solid numbers to your repair costs. So with that, yeah, let's, we're going to wrap this one up. We're going to end this one up. LaToya, if you can do me a favor, if you can just hit me in the Telegram group, or I'll reach out to you, either one, because I have somebody out in Augusta that I can probably work with. Let me see. Thank you, sir. Are you generally the same time each week? Yep, same time, Wednesday at 9 p.m. Wednesday at 9 p.m. every single week. All right. Peace. Hope you guys have a good one, and talk soon. Take care.